are here at the beautiful Movenpick Hotel in Colombo with an equally beautiful woman. When it comes to beauty and beauty pageants, there's a lot being said. So let's talk here on Daily Mirror. And with me is Sade Greenwood.
Hi.
Sade, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here today.
It's my pleasure. So of course, if you don't know, Sade is the reigning Miss Sri Lanka, and she represented Sri Lanka in Puerto Rico. So how was that experience first, Sade?
Well, that experience was absolutely incredible. When I went there, I was just 19. Now I'm like 20, so not a lot of time has passed. But I think going into that as a 19-year-old was really, really eye-opening because with Miss World, there's this kind of sisterhood that surrounds it. So I was meeting like women from all ages, like ranging from like 18 till about like 25. And we all just got along. Like age was not a factor at all. And there was this sort of sisterhood that was kind of prevalent in the air. And it was really, really an incredible experience for me. Yeah.
So that competition feeling was not there? Okay, well, I need to beat you.
Well, there was not a sort of competition feeling, but obviously you wanted to do your best at any sort of, mini pageant that they had. I don't think that we had that competition with one another. We just wanted to represent our country the best we could, and we always helped each other backstage on anything. So again, that sisterhood was always there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what have you been able to achieve as Miss Sri Lanka? I mean, of course, you probably were given certain missions, Maybe you can talk us through what you were doing as Miss Sri Lanka.
So as Miss Sri Lanka, I did a number of missions here so far. And one of them is my Beauty with a Purpose cause, which was for Pearl Protectors, which is this kind of like a NGO which tries to bring awareness to a lot of marine problems that we have in Sri Lanka, like plastic pollution and nurdles, which are these little plastic pellets that kind of pollute the beaches in Sri Lanka. And I also had the opportunity to travel around Sri Lanka with Tokyo Cement. And together we were doing a number of charity causes. We kind of opened up a well in some of the villages, in one of the villages. And I also went to the Yanam Village Heartbeat Empowerment Center, where it's kind of like this vocational skills school where they teach young people the skills necessary for life. So it could be anything for cooking, sewing, even kind of subjects like English and maths. I mean, it was absolutely an incredible experience and really, really enjoyed it.
So what's your take on, when we talk about environment, it's still a serious issue both in Sri Lanka, regionally and globally as well. Do you think enough is being done to actually, focus on environment issues?
I think that's a good question, but, I don't think, I always feel that there's no such thing as it is enough. I think that we always have to strive to do our best, especially for our country. And I always tell people that always ask me, oh, I'm interested in getting involved, but I don't know where to start. Start small. I started small. Before Pearl Protectors, before Miss World, I started charity. I was doing Embark, I was doing a lot of volunteer work at the age of 14. So I started small and I kind of built up my character from there. So no matter how small you feel your ripple is in the pond, keep doing it, because at the end it's going to kind of create a snowball effect, and that's the main thing at the end of the day. So yeah.
Now there's a lot, Sade, being said about beauty queens and beauty pageants. Does it, dishearten you when people sort of throw all sorts of allegations against, beauty queens, especially since you are Miss Sri Lanka as well? This whole thing about, you need to curry favors with certain individuals to get to the top. How do you respond to those sort of things?
Well, I feel like with beauty pageants, there's still a very common misconception. And I feel like, unfortunately, that misconception is still very prevalent in the 21st century. And it's definitely not like that. I think what kind of these beauty pageants, what they kind of stand for is representation, especially representation with women, and giving them a platform to talk about causes that are common in their countries and what they would like to work towards to better the lives of their people. So I do think that these pageants, unfortunately, they have really bad fake news and information about them.
Yeah.
And what I really think they stand for is just, again, sisterhood. And I think it also stands for just bringing awareness to different kinds of problems in people's countries, their contestants' countries, and also providing young women a platform and being able to showcase your talent as well as your voice. And that, I think, is what it is. And I hope that changes the viewpoint on it, because I think it's an incredible opportunity for young women to get involved and start using their voice.
Yeah, I guess some people feel that, you know, some of these women, they have the looks, but they don't have more beyond that.
Beauty and brains, you know,
Beauty
like
and brains.
beauty
I
but
didn't
no
want to use
brains.
the word
That's
brains,
the,
but then
yeah,
I mean,
that's
some
the
people
common
say, you know,
common thing that people pass around. And I've heard that so many times, you know, where people are like, oh, are you smart, or is it just, you know?
Yeah.
But I think, again, that's also a very common misconception, because when you go for these pageants, all of these young women that are competing are all doing their like masters. Some of them are doctors, some of them are engineers. Like, they are all really, really intelligent women. And having conversations with them, like, I've learned so much about their countries as well as their cultures. And it's just absolutely incredible, the women that you meet there. They are all just really spectacular women, and yeah, game changers in their countries, definitely.
So what are you up to now? I mean, you were telling me off camera that you are now doing your further studies as well.
Yeah, so I'm actually studying in Japan at the moment. And I've been there now for about a year. And I'm graduating next year. I've done like 2 years online because of COVID. And that was also, it worked in my favor because I was able to compete for Miss Sri Lanka during that time. And yeah, so I'm studying international relations in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what future plans do you have? I mean, as an individual, are you looking at getting involved in more beauty pageant related stuff?
Well, I wouldn't kind of outline that yet. I wouldn't kind of say, yes, I am or I'm not. I'm just going to see where life takes me. But it's definitely something that I'd love to venture into again. And at the moment, with my degree, I'm trying to kind of work with education in the long run in Sri Lanka, especially bring more awareness to English as a subject in a lot of government schools outside of Colombo. That's something that I feel needs more prevalence, especially in their school syllabus and their curriculums. So that's something that I'm looking at. So yeah.
What do you think, I mean, you know, Sri Lankan women have tried to reach the top in international beauty pageants. A few have gone far, but we still don't seem to be, you know, coming into the top 10 as often as we would want to. Is there something that we are lacking, in your opinion, your personal opinion, something that we are lacking, something that we need to do more, look at more when it comes to beauty pageants, when it comes to judging, I guess, or picking the right women?
I definitely don't think that the right women are not being sent. I think all of them have their own kind of talents and their own kind of positive things that they bring to the table. And I definitely don't think that Sri Lanka as a country is kind of not progressing as far as Miss World. I mean, I think what it lacks maybe is just the proper support. You know, getting the kind of support in terms of sponsorships and everything to get the right kind of dresses for these pageants and everything is quite difficult. And I don't think beauty pageants are given a lot of priority in Sri Lanka, especially with all the problems that are going on, which I completely understand. But I feel like if the women had more support in terms of sponsorships and everything, I feel like they would be able to.
But it's a shame, right? Because you are also representing the country. You are a brand ambassador.
Yes.
And then if the country is not supporting not just you, but then, you know, Miss Sri Lanka, isn't that a shame?
It is a shame, but hopefully like things will change. But I think right now beauty pageants are kind of not as popular as they were, because I do agree. I do think that we at the moment have a lot of other issues in Sri Lanka that need more priority and need more help with. But I definitely think that girls that do go for the international stage in Miss World, or whether it's any of the big 4 pageants, they need the right support there as well, because like you said, it's representation of the country. And I think that is important because, you know, I think Sri Lanka has a potential to even win Miss World one day. I just think we just need the right backing,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, so I hope.
But the training, all that is all in place.
Yes,
Is it?
yeah. So we have the training and everything, and the lovely Kumar De Silva, he helped me with speaking and manners. And then we have Seneca, and Seneca helped me again with kind of walking, Seneca De Silva. And then we have Sangeeta, and she was also helping me with kind of the whole idea about what to expect. So we had a lot of people that were helping me behind the scenes to, you know, do my best at the international stage.
Were you under any sort of pressure when you went for the pageant in Puerto Rico?
Well, I would say I was under pressure because it is kind of a daunting experience.
This expectation.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I didn't know what to expect when I was going there. But one thing I think I have never shared before was that during the time that I was going for Miss Sri Lanka, I suffered a loss in my family around that time. My grandfather passed away, and he was somebody that I really, really looked up to, and he was like my #1 fan. And unfortunately, his health was declining, and at that point, it was hard because I wasn't sure how to be there for him as well as do the pageant. And a day after I was crowned, he passed away. And I think going those couple of months afterwards is very difficult. And I kind of spiraled down during that point. But I think at the back of my head, I did my best at Miss Sri Lanka because I kept thinking of him in memory. And I kept thinking, you know, I want to do this for him. I want to do this for my people. Like that strength, I think, also came from him. So it was a very kind of pivotal point in my life, I feel.
Did you feel like you wanted to like just stop and like recover from what was happening?
I was a mess. Like I didn't know. I was so lucky that I had such a great support system. I mean, again, the people, Sangeeta and Dhananjaya, they were all some of these names that were like my backbone. And then my family as well, they kind of were my backbone as well. And yeah, it was difficult because I was battling with a loss. I was doing Miss Sri Lanka and I was doing university at the same time. So there were 3 very different things going on in my life. But I think overall it just made me a stronger person, and it's just character development at the end of the day. So yeah.
So how do you think you can use you know, what you have gained through the Miss Sri Lanka pageant, the Miss Sri Lanka Miss World pageant, to promote Sri Lanka, especially at this time where, you know, there's always this talk of the need of more tourists coming in. We need more people to visit the country. We need our issues resolved as well. Is there something that you're thinking of, like, you know, you can use to sort of, I mean, your main goal, of course, is on environment-related issues, but then on the other side as well, is there something more that you think you can do for the country?
I do feel like a Miss Sri Lanka has to be somebody that's very, very flexible in the sense that she should be able to bring awareness to nearly all of the problems that we have in the country, whether that be environmental or whether it be economic issues or whether it be something else. She should be somebody that represents her people, most importantly. And I think that definitely she can represent her people in the best way with, like you said, bring more awareness to the problems of her people, what they need. And I think one of the biggest ways she can do that is using like social media, which is something very common. A lot of beauty queens use nowadays, their own platforms to bring awareness. And I also feel like you said, with backing from the right people, the right organizations here in Sri Lanka, they can also bring awareness to issues and try and promote as well tourism, which, like you said, is struggling a lot in Sri Lanka at the moment. And kind of be this figurehead where she wants to kind of bring Sri Lanka, progress Sri Lanka further. And yeah, so it's all about representation. She has to represent her people as a whole.
How was your support from your family for, you know, when you, I mean, how did this all come about? How did you decide that you were going to contest? And
well, I think that I was always interested in it one day. I never knew it was going to happen so soon. But I saw that they were holding auditions and I went in for an interview and I kind of just went for it. I always love to go out of my comfort zone. So even if I get rejected on things, I'm like, no, this is not the final chapter. Like, I'm just going to keep on going. So I think it just kind of was.
And your family backed you as well?
Yeah, my family backed me as well. I mean, my dad didn't really know much about beauty pageants. He was just like, okay, Like, do you. But my mom was like so excited, as moms are usually. They're like, yeah, you go for it, girl. Like, and it was great. I mean, my mom was definitely one of my biggest supporters. And after I was crowned, my dad was like, okay, so explain what this is and everything. And then my dad also became a huge supporter for me. And my sister as well, who's in London at the moment, but she was not there with me physically, but she was also one of my rocks during this time, so she was great. Yeah.
So finally, what message would you give to young girls and young women out there who want to be like you, who want to get on stage, who want to represent their country, and who want to be beauty queens in future?
I definitely think just go for it. I always say this, I get asked this question quite a lot, and I always tell these young ladies, just go for it. The only obstacle standing in your way is you. Nobody's stopping you, and just go for it, because your voice and your platform matters. And like I said, no matter how small you think your voice is, it's a voice at the end of the day, and there will always be one person that will listen. And make that ripple in that pond, and make sure you do it with a lot of pride, because you're also representing your country. And that's basically, it's a very short answer, but just go for it. Like,
should there be more? I mean, there are women who want to probably represent their country, but they might think, oh, I don't look as good as Sade, or I don't look as good as one would want them to be. This whole thing about having to be slim, the height factor, stuff like that. I mean, should there be something more, maybe a different sort of competition, so that women can just come out for who they are, as opposed to how they look like?
In this world, I don't think they do have any sort of height or weight criteria. So I think that times are changing now. It's not like how it was like maybe about 50 years ago. It's definitely changing, and I think that every person is more beautiful because they're unique in their own way. So I don't believe that somebody is more beautiful than another person, because it doesn't matter. Even with these pageants, I always think beauty is not something that you can see. I think beauty is something that comes from within, and I think in people that win these beauty pageants, they not only have like maybe that beauty outside, but it's also, what matters is that beauty inside. They have to have that personality, that kindness, that empathy. And I think that's what makes someone the most beautiful, somebody that's just beautiful inside as a person. And because it really shines on stage, trust me, like the camera doesn't lie, your beauty from within really shines on stage. And I think that's the most important thing. So just go for it if you're watching this. Yeah.
Well, it was good having you, Sade,
Yes.
on the program. Thank you for
Thank you so
being
much
with
for
us.
having me. Yes.
And that's all the time we have for you for this week. Till next time, have a good one.